Hey guys, welcome back to this next episode. And as you can see right now, this is a little different because we're not inside Unreal Engine. And as you might have guessed, I would like to start with building like a simple room. So having a room, we need to start texturing things, because I would like to start with like a simple floor, like an old abandoned concrete floor with some holes and stuff like that. Because I want to have like an abandoned storage room or like a safe room, okay? So we will also learn how to save our game, and I already have a typewriter, which will also be available for download in the next couple of episodes. I will just provide this to you as well. I consider this like a special lesson here. You don't need to follow along, but of course you can. And my advice is you should, because you can always learn something. And so as you can see right now, I'm inside my like mid-journey profile, and as you can see here, this is what I've generated in the past. So different kinds of stuff, and I'm also using Midjourney for creating brushes and simple textures. So what I would like to do is I want to create a brush, because we will use Quixel Mixer. Quixel Mixer is a program by Megascans, or by Quixel I should say. So it's the same stuff. You can just go to the Megascans website and then download Quixel Mixer. It's free to use, you can just install it, and then I will just guide you through. But first I need, because I want to have some displacement, I need something like a crack. So this is why maybe I should use this one. Or maybe I think this should be fine. So let me just download this. But when I created this brush, of course, I will also give it to you, so you don't need to do this. But of course you can if you want to. So what we need to do basically is, you can see here, this is a nice crack, or maybe also this one. So maybe I should focus on this, like this stuff here. So what I do basically is, we can create a mask. No, I think we should not use a mask. Let's just create, delete layer mask. Let's just create a new layer and make this one completely pitch black. Okay, and then we can create inside here, we can create a mask, and then get this brush tool, make this let's start by like giving a good hardness here. So just for the inner stuff, so we can see, yeah, this is what I want. So maybe this one, just following along a little bit here. Okay, so now let me get the hardness to 0% and also a little bigger. Then we can just do like so, just to remove those hard edges. Okay, so now you get the idea what I'm doing here basically. Let me switch this to white. Maybe this is something I don't really like. And then maybe I make it, oh no, this is too big. Maybe 500. So make it really smooth. Okay. Good. So now you get the idea what I'm trying to do here. And then to create a brush we can use later to create a displacement. So this crack is going to become a displacement. We need to make it black and white. So black and white here. Just Alt and click. Now you can see this is black and white. And then also I want to blur this. Let me just shift click everything, and then Shift E. Was it Shift E or Control E? Control E, sorry. And then we should blur this, otherwise it's going to be too noisy later. I don't like that. Let's just use the good old Gaussian blur. Yeah, maybe like so. And then also let's do, so it needs to be really blurry, trust me. And then we can use the levels on top of that. And then just, what I want to do with the levels is just get the bright stuff really bright and the darker stuff really dark. Okay, so this is what I want. Maybe this is just something I want to try out. Maybe I can just, let me also get this one, Shift, click everything, and then Control E to make one single layer. Maybe I can just make this a little smaller. let me get another layer. So I can paint on this layer here. And let me just try to darken this. And then I can try to use different, maybe this one is nice, soft light, okay? So we can make sure, let's just keep painting here as well, maybe a little smaller, so we can just really define the cracks. I know maybe this is like completely, like you have no idea what I'm doing here, but you will see. This one is maybe too white. Shift click and then Control E again, and then I would like to add levels again. Now you can see this is what I want. Yeah, let's do it like so. Okay, cool. And then we can just export this as a PNG. Let's just start with the Quixel Mixer now. So you can download this brush I just created, so you don't need to follow along. And then let's, when you open this one, let's just start by creating a new mix here. No, I don't want to save. So when you open this program, you can just create a new project here, and then I will just guide you through. You will always start with a simple plane. When you click on Setup, in this case, this is also something you will have to download. You can download this. I will upload this for you. A custom model. I created this in Blender. So this is just the same stuff. It's just a simple plane, but this is quite dense. It has a lot of topology. It has 160,000 topology. This one, basically, I don't know the default plane on Quixel. Maybe it has like a couple of thousand. But this one is more dense, so we can just use this one, okay? So make sure that you download this custom plane, or this like displaced plane, and then, yeah, I will just call it a displaced floor for you guys, so you can just download this one. And then just make sure Setup. So when you installed Quixel Mixer, you just created your fresh new project, and then the first thing you do, as I told you, Setup, custom model, and you get this one. You just download it from my course, okay? So now when you click on display, here you can switch the background if you want, but let's just use Skybox. You can also blur the background if you want to. So maybe you're feeling really distracted by the background. As you can see, you can also just click on the top here, and then you can just switch those things, okay? Studio, what I like is Desert Road, because Desert Road has a really strong lighting and a good contrast. So this is always something I like, but we should use indoor, right? So it's a little softer, or you can also just use streetlights maybe, but streetlights is something I don't like, to be honest. So let's just keep using indoors, and then you can switch the light intensity. We shouldn't go overboard with this because it would be a darker environment. So maybe we should use 0.36. And yeah, so you can also play with those values here. More bloom if you want to, the radius of the bloom. So yeah, all those things you can do. But don't go overboard with this, okay? The light rotation, so you can just rotate the skybox, basically. Good. Field of view, just leave it at 50, it's enough, because you can also do a wide angle, 24. Yeah, this is a wide angle, so it looks weird. 50 is always good. You can also just shift and right click, and this is like, you can also switch the position of the lighting of the skybox, basically. Good. Middle mouse button, you can just change the position of your plane, or of your mesh. And Alt left click, you can just move your camera, okay? And Alt right click, you can zoom in and out. So now you get the idea. It's pretty simple stuff. Good, so now you have this displaced plane, okay? So let's just start by creating a paint layer. And on the left side, I just want to have displacement enabled. And we can decide if we want to raise the displacement or lower. I want to lower because I want to have like a cracked concrete floor, okay? I will also give this to you. So this is just a rough idea. What I want is some type of, we can use tiles if you want to, but what I would like to have is some like old concrete, and then some darker, like more brownish spots displaced lower. So it's just going down a little bit. And then also maybe we have some puddles or some wet stuff if you want to, or like debris. I don't know what this is. I don't know. It looks like old debris, like old wood or something. Yeah, so this is what we can do. Okay, so this is just my reference. Good. Yeah, so we should start by lowering the plane. So this is why I created a brush, okay? So if I click on this one, brush shape, I can just load an image and I get this crack. And now you can see I can, of course, create a bigger size like so. And then maybe let's do one here. And now you can see this is really aggressive, all right? So of course, I think it's too big. Let's just Control Z. Let's do 300. And displacement, let's just do 1. And I mean, you can also zoom in and zoom out. This will also affect the size of your brush. But maybe let's do one here. And then let's do another angle here. And then maybe let's do a bigger one like so. And then let's do another angle, a completely different angle, maybe something like just connect like so maybe. And maybe just even a bigger one. Oh, so like let's do like so. Okay. And then we can just maybe do 0.5, so really soft, and just fill those flat things here. Use a different angle, like so. Wait, you can also just Alt left click to change the angle, because I don't want to have like this perfectly flat corners here. This is something I don't want. Okay, so just make sure that this one has a little bit of displacement as well. Good. Now the thing is here, we can actually you can see like the Gaussian blur, so it's quite strong. But if you don't use a blur on this brush, it will be really noisy, because the original picture has a lot of detail, and then it's going to look horrible. Now we have like a softer look to this, but it's about taste. You don't need to blur this much, but you should have at least a little bit of blur on your brush. So now we can go click on this paint and then open up this placement here, and then you can also just change this one here. Okay. So now this is just our displacement. So let's call this one DSP. So now we need a texture, right? I already downloaded a texture because originally, let me get rid of this paint, it's annoying. Let me just get a new solid layer. So I just clicked on the solid layer now. Now, originally, Quixel Mixer was free to use, and it is still, because you already have an account, so then you're lucky when you have an account already. This means that you still have access, but the problem is you cannot go here online and then just download, because it will tell you, asset acquire restricted. So unfortunately, Quixel Mixer, I don't know why they did this. Maybe they are too lazy to update this, but you have to go, it's still free for you. You have to go on this website, Fab, and then make sure it's called, I think it was like Fab and then Sellers and then Quixel. Okay, do like so, because then you only see exclusive content by Quixel. So now you're on the profile, which is just like Quixel content, and then you can go to materials and textures. In this case, building, human made, and then asphalt, concrete, and tiles maybe, and then you can look for stuff, okay? So in your case, you should have something like concrete. Just search for something you like. In my case, I did already download a concrete called rough concrete. You can also just inside here, because we are inside the Quixel profile, rough, you can just search this one, and then you can see, from Quixel, yes. And this is rough concrete, I just downloaded, okay? Once you do that, you can just click on it and then just download it. Make sure you download 4K, okay? We should use 4K. So it's pretty obvious, you can see this, 2K, 4K, 8K. Please don't download 8K, because you cannot export 8K. It's going to crash inside Quixel Mixer. And then you can just so I added another layer here, a solid layer, okay? This one is a solid layer. And let's call this one rough concrete. And then albedo, load, and then we get from the rough concrete, so you just unzip it, okay? What you always need to have, you can delete the cavity map, you can delete the AO, which is ambient occlusion, you can delete the specular and gloss and all that bullshit. You just need base color, displacement, normal, and roughness. So we get base color here. We don't need metalness, you can disable this, and we don't need occlusion. And then roughness, you can just open roughness. And then displacement, pretty important. In this case, it's not really that important, but still, why not? And then normal this is pretty important, so we get more detail. Yes. Good. So now we have roughness, base color, displacement, and normal. The thing is, we need to change the height of this one. Before we put this rough concrete only in those lower spots, okay? This is where the magic, this is where the magic is. We should fix the tiling, in my opinion. Because you can see the plane should be, when we put this in our game, maybe it should be like 4 by 4 or 5 by 5 meters. Okay? This means usually those textures by Quixel are 2 by 2 meters. Oh, sorry, I just clicked on this one. No, this is, just forget what I did. When you click on, when you go online and you click on, let's say, dirty concrete floor, you can see most of those textures are 2 by 2 meters. This means if we want to have, like, for example, one room which is 4 meters by 4 meters, so 16 square meters, which is nice for a single room and enough, in our case, for a safe room, then we, of course, need to double up our tiling. So when you click on rough concrete, box projection, tiling, and then let's do 2 repetitions. And still, this is quite big. Yeah, it doesn't really look right, in my opinion. It's still too big. So let's do 4. And we can go to 4. I mean, far away, if we just disable the displacement, you can see this is 4 times repetition and here 4 times. So this is on both axes, or like on U and V, UV. It's on repeat 4 times, or it's being repeated 4 times, which is pretty ugly. So this is why we use a displacement in the first place. So now it's breaking up the tiling, and now I only want to have this texture and those lower displacement. I hope you get the idea. So how can we do that? You click on rough concrete and then activate height blending, and now you can see this is going into the right direction. So you can just play with the height here, and then you need to be really careful. You get the idea. So what I'm trying to say, or at least you see what I'm trying to tell you. Okay, maybe let's do minus, because it's so sensitive, minus 0.4. Yeah, like so. I think this is fine. This should be fine. Let me try and see if we can just disable the displacement of the concrete texture. Okay, so we should not. 0.3. Maybe just 0.2. Yeah, 0.2 is fine. And then we should add another texture. Add a solid layer and call this one, let's just call it concrete. I don't care. And then also go to tiling. And we can also set this one to 4 repetitions on X and Y as well. Also use the height blending. Now it's just like overwriting the stuff. So what we need to do here is invert. Okay? And then you can see it's just basically doing the exact opposite. Now we're looking for like a softer concrete. So what we have for our lower concrete is this one, rough. So it's more like yellow brownish. And as you can see, it has more bump. So what we should have, maybe something like a colder texture in color, and more flat and more soft. Damaged asphalt. Yeah, we should use this one, right? Yeah, let's download this one. Here, 4K. Yeah, let me just create a new folder. And we call this, no, sorry, damaged. It's damaged asphalt. Okay, and then drag this one inside here. And then extract here. Then I will just delete the zip. We don't need the JSON. We don't need the specular. We don't need the gloss. We don't need cavity, bump, AO. Okay? We just need base color, displacement, normal, roughness. Then let's go back. I know it's a tedious process, as I told you before. Now we have to download this from the Quixel Fab Quixel profile. I know it's annoying, but yeah. Base color. Put this into base color. Then we don't need metalness, we don't need occlusion, and we get the roughness. And we get displacement. Let's just leave it at 0.2 and then we adjust it later. Normals, we need the normal of course, and this is it. Good. So now let's just fix this second layer here we have. So you can see the height is not really right. Okay, so what we need to do, let's just disable the rough concrete, and then we can play with the height here. So you can see it's really aggressive. You can change the blend radius. So maybe like so. Preserve details. So this is basically like sharpening the mask. And then here you can change the layer's height, basically. So from this layer, the concrete, the asphalt, I should maybe rename this. So we can just put the asphalt layer like more up or down. So maybe let's just do like so. Okay. And then let's just keep using this one until it's about right. Let's do minus 0.85. Minus 0.8. So it's really sensitive, so this is why you have to type it. Minus 0.75. Minus 0.7. Maybe this is nice. And then we should maybe increase the repetition to maybe 5. And then match to underlying is a good feature, because it will just try to make it fit to the layer beneath. Okay, so if I mean match to underlying, you get the idea. So this is way too dark, so we can just match to underlying a little bit, and then go to rough concrete. Maybe we can also match to underlying. Yeah, right. Contrast. And then let's just maybe try different lighting scenarios. So you can also change the tint, maybe like a little warmer, like so. Match to underlying. And then this one. Good. And then we can just see the displacement here. And now you can see you can make it really aggressive if you want to. But I think this is, I mean, this looks already fine for like a base floor. It looks abandoned, but there's still a lot of stuff missing in my opinion. So what we can do is maybe some color variation. What you can do is just duplicate this one. And then you can use a mask. Click on this button here, mask, and then noise, and let's do, I don't know, simplex. Let's disable the first one, so we only have this copy here, and we call this asphalt variation. Okay, so what we can do, I want to have some spots, so this is why we have this mask. Let's crank up the amplitude, and now you can see it's getting a little stronger, but I think we should use Perlin. Yeah, Perlin is much better. Increase the frequency as well. Maybe like so. Also maybe the octaves. And now you can see you put in a lot more detail here. Persistence is basically like the blend, like how sharp you want to have it. So maybe like so. And what I want to do is I just enable the first one again, and now we can just try to add a different color, or let's say tint. But we shouldn't use blue, we should stick with a warmer color here. maybe like less color, but a little bit like so. So yeah, now you get the idea. So now we have a little bit of color variation here. Yeah, it looks much better. So now you can see you have a simple floor. If you don't want to use this placement later in Unreal Engine, you can just deactivate. You don't need to use this placement for this. But still, you're going to have the textures for it. Okay, so maybe a normal map is just enough. But yeah, so now you get the idea. Let's create another brush. So let me find some pebbles. This one looks quite alright. Yeah, let me get this one. Let me just save this. And then I will also, just like the same I did before, create a new layer and then make sure this is completely pitch black. Just fill this second layer and then I go to the paintbrush. Of course, we need to click on the mask first. The mask, this is important. And then we need black. Then let's get the hardness down and more size. Make sure you're not hitting the borders. So let's do a white. Make sure you're not hitting the borders. This is pretty important. Otherwise, you're gonna see the edges. Shift click and then Control E to make one layer. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur, but just a little bit. Maybe 2 is enough. Yeah. And then also we do black and white. And then just click on both, shift click, and then Control E again. We have one layer. And then we should use levels. So make it pop out a little bit. So highlights. Yeah, let's just do like so. What you should do is, let's again shift click both and then Control E again. So now it has no color and I just made it out with the levels to make it pop. So more highlights and deep shadows. But this is not how this placement should be, okay? So what you should do is create another layer here, click on the plus, and now use like a perfect gray. So you can use 127. So this is like the perfect gray, 127. This means a value for red, green, and blue channel of 127 means basically 0, which means it's not lowering and it's not raising our displacement, okay? Because it's perfectly even. If I go to the paint bucket and just click on this, now I have a perfect gray, and then we can just, yeah, we can multiply it. So this is basically what you can do, just to make it a little more soft. Good. And then let's just export this. Let's go to Quixel Mixer. And let's add another paint layer. And let's do, yeah, let's keep this paint layer here on top, and we call this one DSP2. Let's replace the brush with the stones. But before we do that, let's just save this, save as, floor, replace. So I already did a save, so you can just create this one. I just had to restart because the brush is gone. Mixer is a little buggy. It's not a little buggy. Mixer is extremely buggy. So be prepared to restart. DSP2. And I put this one on top. And I use stones. And I want to use a size of maybe 400. Okay, so you can see we are lowering this displacement, which is not really right. You should click on raise displacement, and maybe let's do 0.5. Let's make another layer, a solid layer. And we do, we only need the albedo base color from our damaged asphalt. Height blending. Invert. Sorry, we also need the displacement. Sorry for that. Displacement here. And also the normals. And also the roughness. Now you cannot see anything, but we are going to fix this in a minute. Roughness is roughness. We need to change the height. So now you can see only on top we have now this color variation. Good. So now you can see the more stuff we add and the more detail we add, the more realistic it's going to get. But yeah, let's just see. Let's play with the blend radius. I don't like that. Preserve details. Yeah, this is fine. And then tiling, placement, tiling, and we do 5. Yeah, this is fine. So now what I'm trying to do is I will go through every single channel again, adjust the displacement strength, the tiling, the colors. So I would just go through every single channel to make it look more like as good as possible. Okay, I think displacement and color and everything is fine for now, and yeah, I think this looks decent for like an old abandoned concrete floor. And what we also can do, you can see only when you're on top left, the roughness, for example. Make it a little darker. So let's go back to PBR metalness. And then you can just play with those roughness values. Let's go back to roughness and then asphalt. So maybe we should have something like this. And this is of course where you can also use like a puddle effect if you want to make this rough concrete really shiny. Then you get some kind of puddle effect if you want. But I think this is fine. So we have some roughness variation now. Desert Road. Here you can see this is quite shiny. But the overall strength of roughness we can adjust in our engine. It's just important that you have, when you click on roughness, that you have some variations here. This is pretty important. Okay, and also you can increase the roughness. Asphalt. Contrast. Roughness and contrast. So yeah, this is what you can do. And if you want to have puddles, I'm not sure about that, you can just add a liquid layer on top here. So just add a liquid layer and then you can just decrease this threshold. And then you have a little bit maybe of this shiny stuff. You can see here, this looks nice. If you want to. So don't go overboard with this because this is going to be a locker room. Yeah, I think this is fine. And then you can also adjust like the sharpness or like the blur of the like radius, for example. It's making it more soft. Just a little bit. This is nice. So that you can see the detail basically. You can see the reflection here of our skybox. If I go to detail and increase this. This is just making it more blurry, the reflection, so you should not increase the detail in my opinion. You should just leave it so it's like a perfect mirror effect, like the water is completely flat. And then surface maybe, so make it a little darker if you want, just a tiny bit. Yeah. Moisture is like a blending option, so it's pretty aggressive. So don't. Yeah, let's just use a tiny bit. Just a little bit. Good. Radius. Also just a tiny bit. Yeah, don't blur, it's going to look silly. and darken also just a little bit, maybe like so. Good, now you can see we have a nice damaged concrete. Let's do streetlights. So always try different skyboxes. Good, okay. I'm quite satisfied with this. If you want to add some like stones or leaves, I don't know what stuff, we can do this later in the game with some scattering assets, of course. Good, but now this is pretty important. We have some bump, we have some like creases and stuff like that. We have color variations. We are using good concrete textures, and yeah, this is all. Okay, so now we're finally done. Okay, you can export this, like if you just disable the liquid, you can just export this as a dry variation, and then export this with a liquid, with like puddle variation. So I just made sure that I only have puddles in those deep creases here. Looks nice, especially with the light later when we have light coming from the ceiling. It's going to look good. Then we can export this. Click on export. Let's export this in our RE locker room. So just make sure you have a folder for all the stuff we are creating here. And we call this one floor texture, or floor textures. And this is what we want to have here. We don't want to create a subfolder because we're already inside our folder here. And we call this one concrete floor. We don't need to export the model. We need albedo, roughness, normal displacement. We don't need AO. And we don't need metal. And we export as 4K. And this is it.